I was thinking about my past. Now I want to tell you right off the bat, I am blessed. The Lord has blessed me with so many wonderful things. I own my own house. I have electricity. I have, and when I say I own my own house, I mean I paid for it with cash. It's mine. I don't have a I don't have a bill to pay for that. I have electricity. I have fresh water. Well, I have water I have to filter. I have running water. Let's put it let's put it that way. I wouldn't drink anything that comes out of a tap anywhere in America, and I'm just going to be honest with you with that. Um, I have cable, and a phone, and clothes, and a yard, and I have a beautiful view. I walk out my onto my porch in the front yard, and I see a beautiful cliff covered in green trees, which I'm assured by everybody that lives here, come the fall when they turn all the different colors, it's going to be even fucking better. And the Monongahela River flowing in front of me. And sometimes it's flowing to the north, and sometimes it's flowing to the south, and sometimes it's as still as a lake because I happen to live in like one of the safest places you could ever live when a river that big is in your front yard. I live in between two docks and locks, or dams and locks. Docks. I keep calling. I make that mistake all the time, even to the locals. Say I live by the Maxwell Docks, because I get dam and locks and I combine them together, and they look at me like the docks, the dam and locks, Maxwell. And I live in between these two dams and locks, so the height of the river really never changes. As a matter of fact, the last time it flooded where I live, and I only live 6 feet away from, well, not 6 feet, it's more than that. It's about uh, 25 yards from my porch to the river. Like, I could throw a football to somebody, like, maybe even 15 yards. It's not that far. Like, I've thrown a baseball further. It's yeah. It's not 90 feet would be from my porch to across the street. So yeah, it's about a throw from first to second base. So maybe not even 15 yards, 128 feet, 128. So yeah, about 15 yards. Yeah, that sounds about right. That should 15 times 3 is 15, 30, 45. No, no. Maybe about 20, 25 yards. Anyway, I'm like teasing myself by doing some sort of math. I don't even know why I came back out here. I wanted to film this where I was with the light on. I guess it's hard for me to talk about. It really is, because uh, it's about like when I went to prison, and you know, uh, some people are like I'm the type of person where it's part of my life. Uh, my life's an open book. I've always been an artist. I've always been somebody that shares. I'll share the story. But I'm also a Navy brat and a Coast Guard brat. So I'm just, I don't like to talk about it because it's not because I'm embarrassed. Well, I mean, I'm embarrassed, but talking about it is an embarrassment to my parents, and I don't mean, I never meant to be an embarrassment to them. I made fucked up choices my entire life. I was always the adventurous, fucking mischievous kid. Like I never felt like I belonged to any group. Uh I got made fun of all the time. I experienced racism. I used to get like white people are lame, white people are stupid. Uh it's okay for us to punch white people in the head at school. And then when that would happen to you and you'd go to a like the white principal or the white vice principal, they would say things like, well, it's probably best if you go home. Do you want us to call your parents? Which was funny because that's how I started high school with, oh, when I'd get bullied and I'd go, I'm getting bullied, and well, maybe you should call your parents. But this person's bullying me. Maybe you should take him out of school. No, maybe you should call your parents and go home. This is back in the 90s, yo, 1990s. And I went to, I left one high school after my sophomore year because a new high school opened up, and I was the first graduating class of the new high school. So I had to go to that high school for junior and senior year. And the day before I went to school, I was like, I'm not going to be the same person I was. Nobody's going to know me. It's a completely different school with completely different kids in a completely different county. Because the way I lived in Sacramento, and the school I had to go to was in Placer. So I was just like, nobody's gonna know, whatever. And I completely changed who I was, and I became fucking hella popular, like hella popular. But that's that was a bad thing because I stopped playing baseball, I stopped playing football, I stopped doing group things because I was hella popular. So it was more about music, smoking weed, and doing drugs and getting laid. And yeah, I made a lot of bad decisions, and all my life's bad decisions piled up to a point where I was a single dad, so depressed I was trying to commit suicide. And I wasn't trying to commit suicide the way, like, I hate guns. I'm afraid of guns. I think everybody should have the right to have their gun, whatever. But I hate them. I just don't like them. I don't trust them around me because I'm violent. If I had a gun, I probably would have killed somebody by now, if not myself. So I just don't like guns. It's my choice. I have knives and fucking swords and shit. So don't think you can just come into my house and I won't defend myself. I'll fucking cut your arm off with a fucking goddamn claymore. I don't give a fuck. But yeah, as far as guns and stuff, I don't like them. My son loves them, and I'll shoot with him. Like I've bought him guns. I'll shoot like shit like that's like non-lethal, like paintball guns and airsoft. That's fun. It's like playing a video game, but in real life. So that, like, to me, that's fun. But when it comes to real guns, I will enjoy the fact that you enjoy it, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I tried to commit suicide the wrong way. Uh, and I lived in a tiny town in Missouri, so the cops, after the first infraction, the cops just were parked outside of my house every day. So it was real easy to fucking finally get me on felony fucking DUI. Because I told them the first time, I'm just trying to kill myself, man. Like, there's no reason for me to continue living. Nobody wants me to be alive. And they knew what I was talking about. Things I'm not going to get into, but they knew what I was talking about. So they just like pull me out as soon as I'd leave for work in the morning. Pull up, they just park in front of my house because I told them I drink a 30 pack a night and then swallow a handful of fucking ibuprofen and hope that I wouldn't wake up in the morning. Unfortunately, because I'm half fucking Armenian and half, or well, I'm a quarter Armenian, a quarter Danish, and half fucking Irish, English, and Scottish, I have the liver of a fucking elephant. It just goes, yeah, I could deal with it. When when alcoholism runs in your blood, like one of the times I got pulled over, I thought I was sober because had been 12 hours since I drank, but I drink so much that my blood was uh, uh it like I drank so much like every day, like my blood had a constant alcohol level. So the officer gave me the field sobriety test and I passed it. And he was like, "Well, you passed the sobriety test, but is it okay if I give you this breathalyzer?" And I thought I was fucking sober. And I blew into it and I blew a .36. That's 4 times over the legal limit. And he just looked at me and said, "What? No, man, walk this line again." And I walked the line perfectly. And he was like, "So you were telling me the truth. You swerved because you were playing with your fucking iPad." And I said, "Yeah, I'm telling you the truth. Otherwise I would have been driving straight. I could walk straight, everything's good." But because I'm such I was I am well, I am, like, you never stop being an alcoholic. I'm a little bit better at it now than I used to be. And I don't drive at all. Like, I have a motorcycle. I've only ridden it 3 times. And that was when I was sober as fuck. Like, oh, I'm trying to tell. Yeah, the motorcycle I've only ridden like no, twice while I was sober. I rode it the day I got gas for it to make sure it could run. And oh man, the difference between riding a bicycle and a motor propelled bike, this is only going to make sense to people that have ridden both. A bicycle is momentum. You have to maintain momentum, and how you stop, slow down, and deal with that momentum is different. With a motor propelled bike, uh, it's more propulsion. You have to understand the propulsion. And then not only that, the brakes are reverse. The rear brake is on the left hand side because your right hand is using the gas. So the rear brake is on the right instead of like on a bicycle. So the brakes are reversed. And but I've almost crashed twice. But because of all of the years I spent riding a BMX or riding a mountain bike, I can kind of understand that part of riding it, but still trying to figure out like the propulsion. Momentum is one thing. Like you could take some weird turns on a bike in momentum, but when it's propulsion, no. Because if you don't have enough propulsion going through the turn, you're either going to go way too far out or way too in short and crash either way. So the best thing to do is to stop, get let up off of the gas, like, and that's another thing I'm trying to learn. Use the brake before you like me, like because I'm I'm used to driving a car, an automatic car. I'm driving an automatic bike. It's almost like an electric bike. As soon as you let up off the gas, it just slows down to a jerk. Like you have to hold the gas for it's weird, but the best way I can describe it is when it comes to using the brakes, you have to not be afraid of like you use the brake before worrying about slowing down with the accelerator on the right handle. Don't be afraid to use the brakes. It doesn't matter how fast you're going. Don't slow down by just giving up off of the gas. It's not like it doesn't have a clutch, so you can't just push in the clutch and then let it coast and then slow down that way until you have to put it into like second or third just in case. It's like because it's an automatic, but it runs kind of like an electric car because as soon as you let up off the gas, it just goes no gas, stop, and like you lurch forward. So you have to learn that little bit, but it's fun. I'm learning something. Anyway, I went to prison. Uh, the judge, I so want to say his name because I remember it so bad. The dude is such a fucking narcissist. He even had fuck it. No, he had a fucking license plate on his Jeep that said LePage, LAPAGE, Judge LePage. He's such a fucking narcissist. He had his last name on his license in case he was out getting drunk and driving weird. The cops would know, oh, it's the judge. Don't pull him over. Fuck that guy. Because he sent me to fucking prison for 5 years while he was also overseeing my child case with CPS, which made no sense because the day my kids were taken, the CPS came to my house and goes, "Oh, they have their own rooms. You sleep in the living room." Well, what do they sit on when they come into the living room to watch TV? I said, first of all, nobody told me that they had the right to watch TV. Second of all, if you go back into their rooms, they have lounge seats and bean bags that they could drag out here to watch TV with. Oh, you've got a really great house for children. Now you're going to have to go through 6 months of CPS to get them back. And then during that 6 months, they just added more and more hoops for me to jump through because I was a single dad and it was 2007. I was a white single dad with two kids. Like, the question I got asked over and over again was, where's their mother? What did you do to their mother? And I'd be like, I don't know, and I never did anything. She was supposed to come out here with us and then just didn't. And then finally, they find my children's mother and tell me, oh, yeah, we found her. She died of an overdose. Her body was found on the side of the road. Don't tell your kids, though. And I'm like, well, my kids are in your custody, so I can't really tell them that. But, well, thanks for telling me. I don't even know if they were telling me the truth. Anyway, after all of that, because of that, that's why I started trying to kill myself, because my kids were taken away from me and nothing I could do could get them back. I was just the bad guy. Like, the day my kids got taken away, the sheriff went through my computer looking for child porn and going, we just dug a little girl out of a well today. Do you understand how much I fucking hate you right now? And I'm like, what the fuck, man? I just got back from working. I worked at Walmart's corporate office. I was like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I just know I dropped my kids off today at the daycare, whose husband was a police officer in Neosho. So I figured my kids were safe. And then I come home and cops are waiting for me and you're waiting for me. And now you're accusing me of shit. Why are you accusing me of shit? It comes in like, my daughter shit her pants. The school already knew that. Like, I don't know why, but while Dante got out of diapers really quick, like, the first time I put Dante was in diapers until he was about 3, and then I put him in underwear, and he peed in his underwear, and he goes, "I hate this feeling." He started using the bathroom after that. Ivy, for some reason, she was still like 7, 8, 9, just would not get up to go to the bathroom. She just refused to. Like, if she was watching like, you would have to turn the TV off to get her to turn her head and talk to you. Like, she would get so full, like, so yeah, like, even my dad told them, yeah, she shits her pants and pees her pants all the time. We try to have her wear panties. We took her to the hospital. A doctor thought she might have some sort of Crohn's disease. When I brought her to the school and enrolled her, I showed you all of her medical records and let you make copies. She shit her pants at school, and every time I did what CPS wanted me to do and what the judge told me to do, every time I'd go back to court and then they'd have new things for me to do instead of giving me back my kids. And after about 6 months going to court 3 times, once every 2 months, and I jumped through like 12 rings at that point. Fulfilled everything I was supposed to fulfill. Just couldn't take it anymore. And I said, I can't take it anymore. You guys are forcing me to try and kill myself. Anyway, I'm all better now. Don't worry about that. I'm one of the happiest people you'll ever run across. You don't understand how blessed I am by God. Jesus Christ loves me. God loves me. I am blessed. I am fucking blessed. But I ended up going to prison. I hate telling people this, but it changed me for a long time. Trust wasn't a thing. Like, it wasn't even like a concept after a while. There's no, oh, I trust, like, trust isn't a thing. It's, you're a inmate, you're a CEO. Everybody just had a fucking title. And then even with the inmates, you had a title. You were something. And if you weren't something, you needed to become something. Because if you aren't something, you're the one that the people that are somethings become something off of. Uh, that sounded like a garbled fucking bunch of nonsense, but it's true. If you think about it, it's true. When you get to prison, you have to make something of yourself. You have to let the people know you're somebody. Now, there are safe ways to do that. Um, if you are, if you portray yourself as overly religious, people will leave you alone. If you're in there and you're going to church carrying a Bible and you're just like, no, man, that isn't for me, people respect that shit. They might make fun of you, but they respect that shit. They're like, he is no threat to anybody. This dude just wants to do his time and get out. He ain't in a gang. He ain't trying to tell nobody fucking what to do. He doesn't want nothing with that. Cool. They leave you alone. Same with just guys that go to the library every day. It's I mean nothing is 100%. Even with like religious guys going to the library, nothing's 100%. Every once in a while, somebody just gets beat up because they're in the wrong place at the wrong time, and surrounded by criminals. But when you're surrounded by criminals, you have one of two choices. Become a criminal. Well, it's not fair to say two choices. You have one choice, two ways to go about it. You have to become a criminal. Your choice is how you go about it. Do you go about it fair or unfair? Because you have to have respect. People have to respect you. Like, you can't, like, unless you're in prison or jail for a short time, you cannot rely on church or your Bible, or going to the library and just reading books all the time. You can't rely on that to save you, because eventually someone will just look at you and not like you. That's the thing. I know, out here in the real world, that's not supposed to exist. It does. That's why black kids just walk by and fucking knock out white people no matter how old they are when they're not looking. That's why the knockout game exists. It started in prison. It almost happened to me. Unfortunately for the guy that tried to do it, at that point in time, I had established myself to a point where, um, after that incident, we weren't in the same prison anymore. Let's just put it that way. See, I had it easy though. I'm a California boy, and I went to prison in Missouri. So I had it real easy, because I don't think, if I went to prison in California now, not to say I didn't see fucked up shit and I didn't see people die and I didn't see no, I'm not saying I didn't see that, but I think if I went to prison in California, it would have been way worse than in Missouri. I still saw fucked up shit in Missouri, but I don't think it would have been anywhere as bad in California. But I had to make a name for myself. So I ended up getting one of the highest paid jobs in the jail, working for the prison newspaper. And I got it because the assistant warden participated in read a book to your child program, and I did that, and she was like, "You've got a voice for radio. Why don't you come and read stuff and work with our prison newspaper?" Because the newspaper also did like video shit and stuff like that. And I was like, "Yeah, no problem. That would be fun." And I got paid a lot of money. So what do you do when you're in prison and you get paid a lot of money? Do you just sit on it and fucking sit there and lord it over everybody? Fuck no, that's how you get your ass kicked and you get robbed on a daily basis. No, so I just opened a shop. And the rules of the shop were this: whatever I give you at the end of the month, you give me two when you get paid. Very easy. It's a fair trade. I give you this now. I get two of them when you get paid. Now you might ask yourself, well, how do you enforce that? Because you're a white boy, and you just admitted that you work for a newspaper, so you're not exactly Superman. I'm not. I wasn't exactly Superman, and as a matter of fact, I was also nursing an injury from playing on the softball team. Fucking tore my quad, fucking running around third, so I had to walk around on fucking uh 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 crutches for the last 6 months I was in fucking prison. But how did it, well, my bunkie, his nickname was Debo. I'll let your imagination run wild with that. I won't describe him. He was in for very, very, very bad things. As a matter of fact, he was only temporarily there because he was going on to a different prison. Like the prison we were in, if you had to rank them between 1 and 5, was a 2, and the prison he had to go to was a 5. That might, for those of you in the know, you know what I'm talking about. He was my enforcer because he was my bunkie. So I'd just be like, you get this a month. Oh, and if you have to go and get this from me for me, I just want what you get the other. Like I would be like, we'll split it. This dude owes me 4 nachos. You get two, I get two. And he'd come back with 4 nachos. Or I'd never see a guy again and he'd be gone for a month. But during that month, people would fucking pay me on time. Be like, when's Debo coming back? Like, oh, 2 weeks, man. Fuck, I wrote him a letter yesterday. 2 weeks. Here's the 2 ramen I owe you. Here's the 12 pack of soda I owe you. All right, thanks, man. It got to the point where me and Debo, like, when I got released, I left everything to Debo. I was like, the store is yours. It's not like I couldn't leave it to it. There's no way they would have let me take all of that food. Like, I took tobacco, my lighter, all of my paperwork, and then they had to provide me with clothes when I got out. They had like I took off my orange jumpsuit and they were like, "Here's some pants, here's a belt, a shirt, and a jacket and a tie that they got from like their fucking lost and found closet." And just gave it. None of it fit. Everything was too big. The shirt was too small. The tie was like way too fucking big. The fucking jacket was way. I looked like a fucking hobo. The only thing they didn't give me was a stick with a fucking knapsack. Like, and then they gave me a ride all the way to fucking the nearest Greyhound bus station, which wasn't that close. Made sure I got on it for a ride to Kansas City, where I'm supposed to be free. Nope, because I had nowhere to go. I went to Kansas City and I was immediately enrolled in a detention center. It's just a prison that, after 2 weeks of being there, you earn the ability to leave for 8 hours a day. You cannot drink, do drugs, whatever. You could only use those 8 hours to fucking get a job. Now I'm gonna be honest. Kansas City's a beautiful city. I walked all over it. I know it from its dirt to its riches. I know places, like, if I were to go back to Kansas City, I know places I want to visit. I know places I want to see. I know places I want to go get a drink at. There, I love that city. It's a beautiful city, but it sucked living there because for the first year and a half living there, I lived in that prison facility. Lucky for me, I got a job and I was going to school at a college. So I literally only had to be there for 4 hours a day. The problem with that was I was at school from 6 until 4 and then at work from 4 until 6. So I started taking speed and stuff like that. It wasn't good. And finally, it had eaten away at me enough that I just called out to my sister and brother and was like, I need help. I can't live out here anymore. It's a bad influence. There's just it, the people I work with, everything. I love them all to death. Some of my friend Lance died in front of me. Sucks. It, but because of the death and everything that I had seen there, people getting shot, fucking the crime, like things happening in like my own hallway, people dying, my next door neighbor dying, like he died and nobody found it for so long, like it stunk so bad. I thought I was the one that stunk, like because I was high on speed at the time. I thought I was the one that stunk, and I'm like, and I would shower every day, like, and scrub myself, and then get out of the shower, and it would just stink, and I'd be like, "Fuck," and I'd go and wash my fuck like every day. I was spending so much money because my neighbor died, and it took 2 weeks for people to find him. And I'm going to be honest with you, the day after he was gone, oh man, fucking I got my mentality back because I was like, oh, it wasn't me that stunk at all. It was a fucking stupid. The dude was an asshole. Nobody missed him. That sounds fucked up to say too, but I lived in like the ghetto. I lived off of 36th and Grand in Kansas City. No, Maine. 36th and Maine. Right across the street from some sort of fucking gay bar. Yeah, whatever. Is it Maine or Grand? Huh. I think it was Main Street. I think it was Main Street. I think it was 36 Main Street because it wasn't even that far away from fucking the Mocha or Trail or whatever. The fucking the Oregon the apex of the Oregon and California Trail started like 3 blocks away from me, from where I lived. Not 3 blocks, about 6 or 7. But yeah, and I just couldn't live there. There just too much shit had happened, and I had like I'm the last 2 weeks I lived there. I stopped doing speed because I was like, I'm going to live with my brother, and I stopped smoking weed. Yeah, that was the day that I decided I would never drink hard alcohol again. I just drink beer. Um, I still smoke weed occasionally because, to be honest with you, I never found that as one of my problems. Alcohol and the speed, yeah, those were problems. But that was the day I was just like, I remember I threw my speed pipe, just fuck it, because I was living. I had a job, but I was living in a uh, parking garage that was in the process of being like they started tearing it down and then they stopped. So I would sleep in the office of this parking garage. And the reason they stopped is because across the street was the courthouse, and they were doing renovations to the courthouse instead. So every morning I'd get woken up by the construction crew. I'd roll out of the fucking the the parking facility and go down to the liquor store, get some Gatorade and some breakfast, go to work. When I got off of work, my tips, I'd buy like a couple of beers, go back and sleep in the fucking office of the parking garage that was half torn down until the last weekend I was I, the last weekend I was there. I stayed in the hotel. I left my job. My 2 weeks were up. I had been keeping all of my stuff that I wanted to take with me to my brother and sister's house at my job up in the storage facility. So I did my last duty, walked home to my last duty, my last shift, said goodbye to everybody, got a ton of kisses from all the pretty girls, and then went to the hotel. And then in the morning, the cab picked me up, took me to the airport. Almost didn't let me get on the plane because they were trying to say that I didn't have a government ID, which I did. I had a city of Kansas City, Missouri, food workers ID, and it's a government issued ID that you have to get to work in a restaurant, and it's got your picture on it and your address. It works like an ID. So I had that, and they were trying to say this isn't a government issued ID, and I was like, yes, it is. City of Kansas City, that's a government. And they're like, okay, you can get on. It's like whatever. Anyway, I'm starting to go off. The whole point of the story was sometimes going to prison fixes people. Most of the time, it doesn't. And it all depends on their mentality. The people that don't want to go to prison usually learn their lesson the first time around. The people that tell you, I ain't scared of shit, I'm a badass motherfucker, they're going back over and over and over again because that's where they thrive. That's the environment they thrive in. That's why recidivism is a thing. That's why we need mental hospitals. That's why we need to bring back asylums because there are a lot of fucking people that are mentally insane